Hello, everyone, and welcome to Food Cost Training, an introduction to food cost. I'm Diane Lindsley, the Assistant Director of Food and Beverage at Cache Creek Casino Resort, and I'm going to be talking to you about one of the most important accounts on the P&L for a restaurant manager, the food cost. Our training lineup for today is going to include discussions about what food cost is and what is included in food cost, what is not included in food cost, how the food cost is calculated, how the food cost ratio is calculated, how to analyze the story the food cost ratio is telling us, and finally, what you as a supervisor can do to help control the food cost. So what exactly are we talking about when we refer to food cost? Let's use this very simplistic example of a food product I'm sure most of you are familiar with, a Big Mac from McDonald's. In order for McDonald's to make and sell a Big Mac, they need to purchase certain products. Specifically, 2 all-beef patties, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions, and a sesame seed bun. All of these items that have been purchased to make the Big Mac represent food cost. So we've established that 2 all-beef patties, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions, and a sesame seed bun are included in food cost. Now let's talk about what's not included in food cost. Salary and labor to make food items that are sold are not included. Fuel and energy, or utilities used to make food items are not included. Food that is eaten by employees is not included. These items represent operating expenses. Only raw materials purchased to make a sale to guests are included in food cost. Now that we know what is included in food cost, let's talk about how to calculate the food cost. In order to calculate food cost, managers must ensure that 3 things are being done: tracking purchases, tracking sales, and taking food inventory. Assuming that tracking sales and purchases and taking food inventory are being done, it's quite simple to calculate the food cost. Take a look at the example. Let's say you started your month with a beginning inventory of $5,000. During the month, you purchased $3,000 worth of raw materials to make food items to sell. At the end of the month, you take your food inventory and determine it's valued at $3,500. By adding your beginning inventory of $5,000 and your purchases of $3,000, which equals $8,000, then subtracting your ending inventory value of $3,500, your final amount will represent your food cost. In this example, $4,500. Now that we have our food cost dollar value, we can convert it into a percentage. By establishing a percentage, we're able to make comparisons to other accounts on the P&L, specifically the revenue. While you can't take percentages to the bank, it is helpful in benchmarking your restaurant operations against industry averages for similar restaurant concepts. In our example from the previous slide, we established that our food cost was $4,500. Since we tracked our sales from our POS system, we were able to determine our sales for the same period was $18,000. By dividing the food cost of $4,500 by sales of $18,000, we determine our food cost is 25%, which, by the way, is a favorable percentage for any restaurant manager. Now we've determined our food cost is a wonderful 25%. What exactly does that tell us? Well, it tells us that for every $1 in sales, 25 cents goes to purchasing raw materials to make food items to sell to customers. This leaves us with 75 cents to cover all other expenses such as wages, salaries, fuel, insurance, heat, and don't forget, the owners of the restaurant want to see some leftover monies for profit. Generally speaking, the lower the food cost, the better. Once you've established the food cost percentage, you can use it to compare it to other percentages, such as the budget. If you budgeted a 30% food cost and came in at 25%, you were well below budget. Take a look at the previous month's food cost percentage. If it typically runs about 34% and this month it's 25%, you might question if some of the inventory was counted twice. Likewise, if the food cost this month is 38% and it's typically running 32%, you'll need to do some digging to determine what caused the 6-point increase. It's great to know what your food cost percentage is at the end of each month, but what is really important is what you do to control the food costs throughout the month. Some of the things all good managers and chefs do include taking advantage of favorable pricing from vendors. If Sysco has a great deal on Kansas City steak, buy some and run it as a special with a low food cost. Change the menu as seasonal items become expensive or less expensive. Make sure the kitchen is controlling production so it doesn't result in wasted food. The kitchen should also be following established recipes to prevent overportioning. Make sure high-end items such as filet or lobster are tracked throughout the week to ensure theft isn't taking place. And of course, as we've already established, be sure your process is in place to track sales, track purchases, and conduct inventory. And that is food cost.